what is going on. Last few sessions I've been doing about an hour or two perch fishing when I start, and I've been seeing nothing. Today I'm down, I'm exclusively pike fishing. I'm looking forward to it. Let's get fishing. Despite it being so overcast, I've still put on the polarized specs. I can still see about, I don't know, 1.5 foot, maybe 2 feet under, and that makes all the difference. The second I take off these glasses, I can hardly see at all. I've got so much reflection from the clouds, from the little bit of light that we've got, that I can't really see a great deal. We've had a temperature drop of, again, in the morning, so almost 20 degrees, highs probably 10 degrees lower than they have been. It was a high of, I think, about 14 degrees today. Cold wind, complete change to what we've had. I was beginning to like the warmer, brighter weather because it meant that we were seeing a lot more active, aggressive and hungry jacks since they've stopped spawning, finished spawning, well rested up. And that tends to be what happens, is spawning finishes. Most of the bigger fish tend to rest up for that kind of, and a few weeks after spawning you don't see them for a little bit, and then you start seeing a lot of the aggressive small pike just coming into the margin, and they become so aggressive they'll hit anything. It is a big canal, there are big fish in here. I have caught a few doubles whilst here. I haven't quite had a 20 out of here. I had a 19-pound recently, just over a metre. Great fish. Put up an absolutely fantastic scrap, stronger than the PB pike that I've had, both length and weight. The fish can be anywhere. With the nice sunny days, I like to see them coming in to the margins, or I do see them coming into the margins. They'll kind of wait for fish to come by and they will pounce. In the colder months, they definitely have a tendency to hold the depths, and they become a bit sluggish, a little bit harder to catch. When you get the right lure moving past them just right, and you can still get some really nice fish in those colder, harder to fish months. We are now on an area of the canal that drops down just a little bit deeper in the margins. It's not super deep. It is maybe 6 feet deep in some of the slightly deeper margin sections, but it'll hold fish in the margins for sure. Little pike that. Get this guy in reasonably quick. Oh, I've lost meat. Reel. There he is. Straight in. Well guys, no complaints from me about this small one being my start to the session. Let's get him back, let's try for more. Well, fish one, somewhat as expected. When we got down to this section, we're kind of in line with what we were expecting when we started fishing on this little stretch here. Fish holding deep, but still in the margins. Fine example of the kind of jack that you typically catch on this stretch. As you'll know from watching my other videos, and I'm sure you do. If not, why not? Get on there. There's some really good fish that I've had from this canal. That actually is one of the big things about this, because it gets a little bit deeper in the margin and we're far enough away from the bridges that people don't typically moor up here. There's a lot more vegetation in the margin. We're going to keep fishing the margin. We are not going to ignore the depths and the other side where we can, but the margin is going to be my focus for the next 20 meters or so. I'm going to walk down about 5 meters and I'll cast 5 meters in each direction. Yeah, oh, there's another. Much smaller fish. Keep them in the water because otherwise they're prone to jump. Trying to get away. And in. Well guys, that's the smallest pike we've had in a while. Let's get this guy back. He's about to flip out. Well guys, the one thing I'm finding on this little bit that I'm on at the minute is that the water is oddly a little bit warmer, so maybe it's brought the pike in to feed down here, but the deeper water, the extra cover, this is where they are. Have a chuck in to my left, a little bit further up than normal. I'm going to let that sink down by walking with the spool kind of free. I'm going to stop, put that on, and slowly start my retrieve. That was a hit. Little tap then. anything come in? No. I'm not going to bother. It felt like, if I'm completely honest, something small just happened at the tail. It could be perch. It's a good sign as far as I'm concerned. I would like to catch some perch from this canal, good perch, and I think this might be the stretch to do it on. Water is looking lovely at the minute though. This canal can kind of go a couple of different ways. If it's been raining fairly heavily, it just goes very chocolatey, like the Severn. But when it hasn't had a great deal of rain, or it's been incredibly cold, the water can drop very clear in some spots. This area that I'm in at the minute does drop reasonably clear, but it is definitely not the clearest spot on the canal. There is one spot about 3 or 4 miles to my left that is just, it is gin clear. And it's a great place to go and fish because you can see everything in the water. Really, really good depth visibility, good views of snags, good views of any fish. Great fun place to fish, but not the easiest to access, especially if you are driving. I find one of the best bets is to park a few miles away and walk. And it does take a little while to cover that when you've got your fishing gear, so it's often a good idea to pack light, travel light. Had no intentions of this being, you know, a massively active session. I was kind of coming out with the hopes that a single fish would be enough. I don't tend to persevere with a single lure, or never used to persevere with single lures. I liked to kind of change up fairly often just to get an idea of what lures might be best on what water, and it's how I discovered the Fox Rage Pro Grub as such a good lure in general for pike. You know, I'm not saying it's the best. There are lures that I do prefer, but they get a damn sight more expensive, or maybe even less so these days. They certainly would have been a lot more expensive, but even these Fox Rage Pro Grubs are about £5 a pop for the 16 centimetre now. Gone are the days where you'd be picking them up for a couple of quid in your local tackle shop and just get moving. They're not hanging out amongst these lilies at the minute, which is kind of disappointing. I'm just surprised we sort of had that little spot where those two fish came on very quickly, and then we haven't seen anything since. Maybe I should have kept heading that way, but I'd have been walking back a fair chunk of the journey in the dark, getting into the realms of where I caught that big fish last time. And sometimes fish do hang around in the same areas. You know, they found an area that they grow well in, there are good fish in, there is good food in, there's good cover in, whatever it might be. So they do sometimes hang around in the same area, but just because you caught a big fish from one place one time doesn't mean it's always going to be there. That said, my PB from the river this year was fishing in a spot that I know a big fish hangs in, and I do suspect that it's that same big fish that I caught this year. Just unfortunately, as it was beginning to drop just a little bit of weight, otherwise it would have been a touch more into the 20s. It's a little bit disappointing that mine was only 20, but I'm not complaining at a 20-pound fish at all. I'll complain that the one that I caught from here the other day wasn't a 20, because it was so flipping close at 19 pounds. The biggest fish I've ever had was 116 centimetres, really, really big fish, but it was slender and it just didn't weigh anywhere near as much as it could have done. It was also a lake fish, which, you know, may mean something in terms of things, but absolute crocodile. Definitely a fish that could have been well up into the you know, nearing 30 pounds, had it have had all of the weight on it. Right, take a couple of casts whilst we make our way back, fairly swiftish now. Stop off at the areas we can get good access, but we are pushing probably the limits of this GoPro in terms of kind of how well it can see in the dark, how well it takes pictures in the dark. So we will stop in a second, but you never know how many casts away that next fish is.